Hello, good evening. We're glad you could join us. Project 100 is an oil and gas industry ingenious intervention to support wholly owned and indigenous Nigerian oil and gas service companies towards becoming the big boys of the industry with high economic impact. 60 of these companies are already identified and are good to go. Look forward to the how, what not, why, and why not in this package. Anti-Pipeline's vandalism campaign is blessed with renewed synergy when an august guest came to the towers. An NPC spokesperson made this assertion and it's characteristically detailed. We got also new figures and fresh numbers for the month of November 2018. It's in the 40th edition of the NNPC's monthly financial and operations report. Plenty of details coming thick, fast and factual. Good to have you join us. My name is Akin Agbejule. This is Oil and Gas Forum.
Let me commend the NNPC for expanding its exploration outreach into the inland basins with a view to improving the nation's oil and gas reserves, drive oil and gas production, and spin off socio-economic activities across the country.
No panic to buy fuel for black market. NNPC go bring fuel for all motorists.
NNPC say them get fuel jabrata for ground. Saboteur. All of una wey dey tiff with fuel and petroleum station wey dey hot smuggle and divert our fuel go neighboring country. Plus people wey dey build small tank and sell fuel pass our government price of 145 naira per litre. Stop am o. Because why? Na big offense now. Na jail straight away. NNPC say our government no increase fuel price, na still 145 naira per litre. So therefore, no buy black market, no do panic buying. Enough fuel dey wey go round. Nigerians, if you see any petrol station where they sell fuel pass our government price of 145 naira per litre, kia report to the nearest security agency when near you or the Department of Petroleum Resources. Na Ndu Ohamado, Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, NNPC, sign this message.
Here's the outlook of what's trending. Inland basin exploration receives another boost. Kolmani River 2 well spotting gets presidential flag off. Federal government launches Project 100. There is much more to the number. The nation's oil and gas assets are vast and awesome, and the protection is a 24/7 engagement. A renewed synergy is taking this to the next level. NNPC increases gas supply to power. Plenty of numbers to this report, an exciting one at that. That's why this segment is called Highlights. It's short. Wait for the details. Oil exploration dated back to 1900s in Nigeria when oil seepages were spotted in Okitipupa in the present-day Ondo state. Indeed, the first exploration took place in the entity which later became Nigeria in 1908. However, oil finds in commercial quantity was not struck until 1956 at Oloibiri, now in Bayelsa State. With an initial daily production of 5,100 barrels in 1958, Nigeria's national crude oil production soon rose to about 2 million barrels per day in the 1970s. Presently, production has been encouraging. These developments catapulted Nigeria into becoming an oil-producing nation, with the black gold serving as the mainstay of its economy. A marked feature of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria, however, is that crude oil and gas production has been carried out mainly at first onshore in the Niger Delta region and later in the 1990s offshore, when government offered necessary incentives that resulted in the production from such fields at Okan, Afren, Ebok and Bonga field. Not to talk of the newest deep water 200,000 barrels per day production from NNPC Total Egina field. Yet, there exists high prospectivity for commercial deposits of oil and gas in other basins, apart from the Niger Delta Basin, including shallow offshore, deep offshore, and ultra-deep offshore that are currently serving the country. These other basins with high prospectivity include the Chad Basin, Benue Trough, Bida Basin, Anambra Basin, Sokoto Basin, and Dahomey Basin. Although exploratory works on many of these frontier basins have been carried out at one time or the other, activities around them are relatively unknown to the generality of Nigerians. As far back as 1956, for instance, an international oil company, IOC, was granted exploration rights to Sokoto Basin. Between 1995 and 1997, an NPC carried out exploration activities in the Chad Basin and Benue Trough, involving the acquisition of 3D seismic data and drilling of 23 wells, with varying degrees of successes. In the same manner, under the production sharing contract terms of the 1990s, 3 wells were drilled in the Gongola Basin of the Benue Trough by some IOCs based on 3D seismic data. These include Kolmani River 2, Kolmani River East 1 and Kolmani River Southeast 1, Kolmani River C1 and Kolmani River D1. However, the flag off of the spudding, or in layman's language, drilling of Kolmani River 2 well, Saturday, 2nd February in Kolmani River 2 well site between Bauchi and Gombe State by His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, marked the high point of the renewed effort to tap into the opportunities that inland basin can offer. Preparatory to the D-Day, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC Group Managing Director Dr. Mikanti Baru had inspected activities on the site to ensure that all necessary arrangements which culminated into the grandiose launch by President Buhari were in place.
We do appreciate from your officer that you have quite a tight schedule of 4 weeks to complete this Bailey Bridge, and as I was telling him, I believe it's only the military that can deliver within a very short period to deliver a 60-meter long bridge within the 4 weeks period that you're envisaging.
The event of the D-Day commenced early with arrival of officials, dignitaries including traditional rulers and other community leaders. Delivering its opening address of the day, the Group Managing Director of NNPC, Dr. Baru, traced the journey to the flag off of the spudding of Kolmani River 2 well by President Muhammadu Buhari, stating the commitment of NNPC to the project.
This occasion represents the commencement of drilling operations and the opening of new vistas for the oil industry and the nation at large.
Performing the official launch, President Muhammadu Buhari traced his romance with the oil industry to the 1970s, even as he praised NNPC for making the epoch-making event a reality.
I congratulate the NNPC and all relevant stakeholders for what has been achieved thus far, and I pledge my full commitment to this important national imperative on our journey to building a prosperous, strong, and stable Nigeria.
President Buhari stated the benefits which Nigeria would derive from the success of oil exploration in the inland basin, not least the long-awaited spread and balance in revenue generation from the different geographical parts of the country. It was an event in which top industry officials, political leaders and traditional rulers, including the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Governors of Bauchi and Gombe State, Dr. Emmanuel Kachiku, Mohammed Abdullahi Abubakar and Ibrahim Hassan Dankwambo respectively, actively supported the President in executing.
To the glory of God, I hereby spud in the Kolmani River 2 well.
Mr. Abdullahi Bomoy, the Group General Manager, Frontier Exploration Services, the unit of the corporation that oversees the exploration activities in the inland, expressed optimism that the renewed effort in Kolmani River 2 well would yield the desired result, latching his expectations on cutting-edge technology that has been deployed, as well as the competence of the drilling company handling the project.
There is gas already, as established by Shell before us. Now is that we are appraising that particular horizon, and at the same time we have established that there exists lacustrine source rock in this basin.
Traditional rulers and host community members of the Kolmani River area could not hide their joy, expectations and hopes for the project.
Actually, there are no words enough to describe, the GND of NNPC. In fact, he has been doing a lot of things all over the country, and they are also visible. But this one is something else, I think that this is, an indication that we have gotten a round peg in a round hole.
Our entire community here are very happy, and we assume that this project is going to be important not only for this community, for the whole nation.
With this prospect of the oil exploration in this part of the northeast in Nigeria, we will have a better and bigger Nigeria in the near future.
The spudding of the Komani River 2 well falls squarely into two deliverables contained in the NNPC GMD Dr. Mekanti-Barrow's 12 business focus areas buffer, which are to increase crude oil and gas reserves and production, as well as intensify the search for petroleum resources in the nation's inland basins. Dr. Barrow explained the support his management team got from Mr. President, which he noted had culminated into the 2nd February 2019 flag-up ceremonies.
Within the activities, we've already drilled 27 water boreholes with handheld pumps. We've also intervened to the larger community in terms of beginning to build some health centers so that they could have some medication. We've also intervened in repairing some of their educational institutions.
As the industry turns its attention to the Komani River 2 well on Saturday, 2nd February, the ultimate wish was that crude oil and gas are struck in commercial quantity in the basin.
Good evening and welcome to the feedback segments of the program. I am Julia Auta. This week we are here for the presidential flag-off of the spud-in of Komani River 2 well, which officially kickstart oil drilling in Gongola Basin. We want to find out from Nigerians what this exercise holds for our crude oil reserves targets and indeed the nation's economy.
This is a dream come true. And with this type of development, then we have more prospect in Nigeria of tomorrow.
So this is the kind of change we expect to create a source of economic empowerment to our society and to the country in general.
Wa'yanda za su amfana da wannan abu 'yan Najeriya ne na kowane angle, 'yan arewa da 'yan kudu kowa zai amfana da wannan abu.
Going to help a lot in terms of business activities, to help the common man to provide pipe-borne water, electricity and good roads.
This will really help in developing our community, maybe the world, and our local government, Bauchi State and Nigeria at large.
Zai yaye mana talauci kuma za mu ji daɗi, yaran mu za su yi karatu. Ai yanzu ci gaba aka samu.
With the support of the federal government and the successful spud-in of Komani River 2 well, the NNPC's vision of boosting the nation's oil reserve is on course and will soon become a reality. This is the much time will allow us on this segment. Please stay tuned for the rest of the program.
Hello, glad to have you join us on this factual segment of the program. My name is Abigail Ojobo. Did you know that the landmark presidential spudding of Komani River 2 well took place on 2nd February 2019? Did you know that NNPC has acquired 3D seismic data over the Komani River area, leading to the identification of 6 prospects? Did you also know that in 1993, the federal government awarded the Komani River 1 block and the project was terminated at 8,000 feet only and recorded about 33 billion standard cubic feet of gas resources that was termed non-commercial? The international oil companies, IOCs, that were awarded the block suspended operations and relinquished the blocks in line with their contractual obligations in year 2000. Did you know that NNPC has also moved into Bida Basin, and today the corporation is the first company to carry out exploration activities in the area? Did you also know that the NNPC is also planning massive seismic data acquisition in other parts of the Benue Trough, traversing Adamawa, Nasarawa, Plateau, Benue and Taraba states? Now you know. Please stay tuned for the rest of the program.
The Ministry of Petroleum Resources, in conjunction with the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board (NCDMB), has launched Project 100 to provide institutional and financial support to 100 indigenous oil and gas service companies. The project targets indigenous companies offering seismic, marine, engineering and drilling services and will provide financial and non-financial as well as technical support and access to market for the benefiting companies. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Dr. Ibe Kachiku, who performed the official launch, said he initiated the Project 100 as an oil and gas industry intervention to identify, recognize and nurture wholly owned indigenous Nigerian oil and gas service companies into large-scale players that will create high impact on the economy. Executive Secretary of the board, Mr. Simbi Wabote, said a lot of evaluation criteria were used to trim the number of companies that applied, adding that 60 companies were chosen among thousands of service companies. The NCDMB and the Bank of Industry had in 2017 launched a $200 million intervention fund for Nigerian companies involved in manufacturing in the oil and gas industry. Petroleum products pipeline vandals may be in for difficult times as the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) and the Nigerian police have pledged to work together in a renewed drive to combat the perennial menace of oil theft and pipeline vandalism across the country. Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division of the NNPC, Mandu Amadu, stated in Abuja that the decision to reinvigorate the push against oil pipeline marauders was reached at the meeting between the Group Managing Director of the corporation, Dr. Mikanti Baru, and the Acting Inspector General of Police, Mr. Abubakar Mohammed Adamu, at the NNPC Towers. The release said the renewed cooperation would consolidate the prevailing cordial relations between both entities in tackling the menace, which has manifested in losses of millions of liters of petroleum products. Receiving the police boss at the NNPC Towers, Dr. Baru congratulated him on his appointment, noting that it was gratifying for him to have chosen the NNPC Towers as destination of his first courtesy visit since assumption of office.
Our vulnerability in terms of pipeline vandalism and other acts of sabotage to our plants, we, NNPC, are very determined to join and make available to you early warning of areas where we think there could be security breaches and, of course, in fighting crime.
Dr. Baru seized the opportunity to commend IGP Adamu for the police's quick response to the recent case of suspected collusion between some policemen and oil pipeline vandals in the Arepo axis, saying it was indicative of the determined commitment of the police leadership to stem the ugly menace. In his response, the acting IGP Adamu said that as the foremost provider of the means of sustenance of the Nigerian economy, it was natural for the police to have keen interest in the security and protection of NNPC's vital oil pipelines and sundry facilities across Nigeria.
Any threat, not only blowing of pipelines, whether during election or before election or after election, are things that we have sent our operatives, intelligence operatives, to identify those people that are planning, and then we get them and then take them out before they strike.
A total of 735 million standard cubic feet of gas per day was delivered to gas-fired power plants in November 2018, compared with October 2018, where an average of 627 million standard cubic feet of gas was supplied. A release by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Ndu Hamadu, said in Abuja. Details of the report contained in the NNPC Monthly Financial and Operations Report for the month of November 2018 released showed that out of the 212.93 billion cubic feet of gas supplied during the period, a total of 123.29 billion cubic feet of gas was commercialized, consisting of 36.14 billion cubic feet and 87.15 billion cubic feet for the domestic and export market, respectively. The release said this translated to a total supply of 1,204.76 million standard cubic feet of gas to the domestic market and 2,905.06 million standard cubic feet of gas supplied to the export market for the month, implying that 57.91% of the average daily gas produced was commercialized, while the balance of 42.09% was re-injected, used as upstream fuel gas or flared. The total gas supply November 2017 to November 2018 stood at 3,071.13 billion cubic feet, out of which 466.44 billion cubic feet and 1,317.77 billion cubic feet were commercialized for the domestic and export market, respectively. A further breakdown of the report indicated that gas-injected fuel gas and gas flared stood at 1,286.92 billion cubic feet of gas. The November report, the 40th edition in the series, announced a trading surplus of 2.06 billion naira, which represented a laudable improvement of 116% over the previous month's deficit of 12.66 billion naira. This increase in performance month on month was primarily attributable to improved efficiency of the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company (NPDC's) operations.
Hello and welcome to Global Crude Oil Outlook. Oil fell Friday after data showing a rise in U.S. inventories weighed on sentiments already rattled by the global economy, though prices were buoyed by the prospect that supply could fall short of global demand. Brent crude oil futures were last down 50 cents or 0.8% at $62.19 per barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate WTI crude futures were down 75 cents or 1.39% at $53.26. WTI and Brent crude oil both remain range-bound following a failed attempt to move higher. Supply fundamentals have increasingly been turning supportive in recent weeks. But against this, the market still worries about the yet-to-be-realized, if at all, impact on demand from weaker macroeconomic fundamentals. The oil price also came under pressure as weekly data published by the U.S. Energy Information Administration during the week showed an unwelcome increase in stocks of crude oil. Some analysts, however, were relieved that U.S. crude oil inventories rose only 1.3 million barrels in the week to February 1 against expectations for an increase of 2.2 million barrels. The oil price is showing a 20% gain so far this year. And that's it on this segment of the program. My name is Solomon Yopave.
With McKenty coming on board, there is stability in the rate of fuel supply. That is a good plus. And two, drivers or users, motor owners can go into filling stations and buy fuel, get out of the filling station without hazard.
Well, that's been all on Gas Forum for the new week. We hope you found it very informative. Thanks for joining us and keeping the stakeholdership. We got a date to keep next week. Bye now.